A recent survey found that 52% of working moms who left the workforce during the COVID-19 pandemic have no plans to return before next year. They surveyed more than 3,000 moms to understand why they left the workforce and what it may require to motivate them to return. Orly Amor is a certified behavior analyst, specialist on employee retention, author of the 12 Powers We Hold Within. Orly, first of all, why'd so many leave? And then second, why are they so hesitant to come back?
Well, good morning. Thank you. The reason they're leaving is because they have options now. There's a lot of options for moms to stay at home and reduce the household expenses more than income, of course. But why they're not coming back is because they found also ways to feed their families without going to a job. And, employers for years have not listened to that calling of helping working moms to be able to be with their family, their kids, and so on, and not miss baseball games. But at the end of the day, they realize that they can pivot and create their own entrepreneurial endeavor.
Okay, so you take a look here. 1 in 3 who are not returning to work say they made that decision because they don't feel adequately supported by their employer to take care of their families. So to your point, missing the baseball game. So what you're saying is if employers want to get these women back, and if they want to keep these women, they need to start being a little more lenient. They need to start being a little more flexible. If one day all of a sudden an employee comes and says, hey, my son's playing tonight at 5, can I get out a little early to go see the game? They need to be a little more receptive to that rather than in the past simply saying, you want your job or not, right?
Right. So, in the workforce, sometimes it's kind of hard to say men and women, but men don't even ask for permission. They just say, I'm leaving. I have this ball game I have to go to. And women just ask for the permission. And because of that, they are told no. And, why would if a woman would say, well, I'm leaving. I have my son's baseball game. It's not really a good thing for her because she's probably going to get fired. And the employer needs to understand that there is some flexibility and embracing of the fact that there are things that they need to be done. And it doesn't matter if it's a ball game or anything like that. It's just that there's no flexibility in the workforce. Well, and there have been women who dedicate themselves a lot.
So, but I got to ask you, what do you base the flexibility on men as opposed to women? I mean, it's like you're making it sound like if a guy says I'm going to the game, it's okay. And if a woman says it, she's getting fired. I'm not saying that's never happened, but I mean, did I miss the memo on that? Is that happening across the country at an alarming rate?
It's happening. Let's just agree to that part. It does happen. So if it happened once, it happens everywhere, right? If it happens in one place, it happens other places. But I don't want to, harp on that part more than I want to harp on the fact that the employer are not flexible or embracing the fact that the moms need a little bit more support. And if they are not going to give them that support, why should they go back to work?
Yeah, 19% of those surveyed don't feel like an employer would support their needs in balancing family and work responsibilities. That's a large number. And so,
it is.
Okay, so the pandemic, I think the pandemic taught, when we talk about, Orly, why people are not going back to work, whether it's males or females, we're concentrating on females here, but, overall, I think people got a different perspective. It was like, you know what, life is short, and I'm spending all this time at work under all these constraints, and I'm missing so much. I'm not doing it anymore. I think it gave a lot of people like an epiphany. And I think moms are leading that charge here. And employers better take notice of this or they're going to continue to suffer.
Absolutely. The pivotal point here is that they realize that they can be entrepreneurs, work from home, create, follow their passions, follow their bliss, like doing coaching or getting groups together or doing whatever it is that they feel will not only bring them income, but also fill their heart and their soul and be happier because they are able to.
Talking to Orly Amor right now, certified behavioral analyst, specialist on employee retention. So isn't it kind of funny how quickly this has changed, Orly? It went from the employer held all the cards to now the employee holds all the cards. I mean, literally, they hold them all as it stands right now.
Yeah, it is a very interesting paradigm. That it's a shift that has happened, and we have to either embrace them or give them that opportunity to also follow their bliss at work as much as give them the flexibility at work. And if it's transportation or anything like that, it becomes cumbersome on time, right? It's time consuming that is being wasted. And I think across the board, a lot of people feel this way. But what if the government is giving everybody money to stay home? Again, why should I go back? And there is some kind of thought, linear thought there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my last question for you is, the headline says employers need to know how to fix that. How do they fix that? Is flexibility the key, or just listening to a working mother and allowing her to kind of make her own schedule as long as productivity is where it needs to be?
Yes and no. In the flexibility part is that, it's a case by case instead of being across the board rules and regulations and processes and policies in the company. Those policies, those processes have to be flexible. HR can be trained on that and so on. Yes, the flexibility is still a yes. It has to be.
Okay, Orly, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.